DeSanto Propane is 4 generations strong as a trustworthy, family-owned business with unmatched customer service. Go online at DeSantoPropane.com for more info or call toll-free at 1-800-752-4574 today. Since 1937, the difference has been DeSanto Propane.
Hello, everybody. Welcome into the FL1 Sports Podcast here on FingerLakes1.com. Paul Russo and Jim Senacropi here with you this week. It is MLB Opening Day. We got some baseball to discuss. We have a new head coach, a familiar face back on the hill in Syracuse for men's basketball, Gerry McNamara. We'll discuss that. We'll debrief the high school basketball season after Lyons fell in the Final Four for Class C this past weekend, and whatever else this might kind of happen to pop up. So plenty to get to. But first, I think a couple more of our sponsors today, including Seneca Falls Acupuncture, offering personalized treatments for pain relief, women's health, digestive symptoms, cosmetic acupuncture, and more, helping you look and feel your best naturally. Book your appointment online at SenecaFallsAcupuncture.com to experience award-winning care right here in the Finger Lakes. And the Lux Hotel and Conference Center, a newly renovated full-service hotel with 9,000 square feet of banquet and meeting space. Plan your next visit, event, celebration, or meeting. With them, you can stop in for lunch or dinner daily at the popular Woody's Bar and Grill over on Route 414. So
friendly old Woody's.
Yes.
It's a place where everybody seems to know each other, and it's good times at Woody's.
Oh, yeah.
9,000 square feet, too.
It's a lot of space.
A lot of square feet.
A lot of room for activities, as we would jokingly say. So let's begin, though, Jim. Been pretty much, I feel like, the main talking point over the course of the past, 2 months, really, basketball-wise for us, has been the Syracuse coaching. What ended up being a for sure carousel, and now we have an official answer with Gerry McNamara, the legend, coming back. It's weird because I feel like for me, I'm kind of caught in the middle of this. I posted my Instagram story yesterday, and I had a couple people respond back to me, and even at pickup last night when we were talking about it. I don't hate the hire. I want to make that very much so clear. I'm not against the hiring of Gerry McNamara. I think for where I stand on this is more or less just like, what is the past 3 seasons then mean? And that's where I kind of get caught in the middle of this, right? Because Gerry was on staff with Red Autry under Boeheim. He was also the top assistant under Red for 1 season before taking the Siena job 2 years ago. I think that's kind of where I'm caught in the middle, where I'm just like, what does that just mean then for what they
Autry was
have
ahead
the
of
past 3 years?
McNamara.
Right.
Yeah, Autry was the associate head coach.
Yeah. But I'm
He
just
was next in line.
I'm just kind of saying though, what was the point of the past 3? And that's where I'm kind of just like,
honestly, what it will be remembered for in history is the buffering between Jim Boeheim era and Gerry McNamara era. It's always hard to follow a legend, so now Gerry doesn't have to.
it's true. No.
So, and it was also a period of time when Syracuse did a poor job of adjusting to the new landscape of college basketball. So now they got a new athletic director and a commitment to the financial side of things, it looks like. And Gerry's a winner. Like, that's why I love it. First of all, I love it because if I can envision a future for Syracuse basketball, it would be coached by a guy that we know and love that's been a lifelong Orangeman. And it didn't work out with Autry, but, I think it'll work out with McNamara. He's just, he's, first of all, listening to him on the Stephen Fontes podcast there, or watching Siena, he runs offenses other than high pick and roll. So that'll be good. I think he's going to attract and retain a certain type of player that's the same type of mentality that he is. I think that Kyan Anthony will be a better player under him. And I think I couldn't be happier. I wouldn't have chosen anybody else. Anybody else. I mean, there's a lot of coaches out there, but you want a guy, first of all, this isn't a stepping stone for McNamara.
It's true.
He'll be here forever. Bring in the guy, whether it's the South Florida guy or a bigger name like like Patino or whatever. The no guarantee they're going to stay. And the older guys, like the Patino types, they'd just be a few years, and we're back where you started from. So this is going to be McNamara's identity is going to be all over this thing, and we're going to win basketball games despite being in a Southern Conference.
Yeah, that's definitely true, and there's some news out of there anyway too that we'll probably get to really here at the end of the podcast as well. But it'll be interesting. We have his official introduction on Monday afternoon.
I know, it's been weird.
Yeah, he's doing it. It's weird because he is doing
coach,
the radio circuit essentially right now and everything. And it's one of those things where maybe it's the official timing, quote unquote, of it, right? Like they didn't formally announce his hiring until Tuesday morning, essentially. So I don't know. To me, if you're Syracuse, you could definitely have the turnaround time to either whether it was today on Thursday or even tomorrow on Friday to do the presser. But I don't know. They're doing a ticketed event for it. I saw at
ticketed event for the opening press conference?
Yeah, they're doing it at
I guess.
Well, it's like a free event. You have to RSVP technically, but they're doing it at the Dome at the Champions. I forget the name off the top of my head right now, but they're doing it in there. So, hey, I think if you could go ahead and try and go, I guess. But it'll be
just watching on YouTube,
right where they're streaming it. But it's one of those things where I'm really intrigued to kind of see how this how it goes. He's answering to me. I don't know what he'll answer that he isn't already, I guess, answering
the
right now.
Things, and you could almost predict what he'll say. But what I'm excited to see, and what it was exciting to see in the interview, it was a phone interview he did with the Orange Nation podcast. He's just how genuinely excited he is. Like it's his dream job, I'm sure. They've won one national championship here, and it was with him. Anybody remembers those Big East Conference runs, specifically the 10 effing games tournament? That's him as a player. But if you watch Siena play, and I didn't watch a lot of Siena, I probably watched 4 Siena games if you count Duke and their conference championship game. Those teams played different than Syracuse in terms of like the little things and the constant movement. And so a player like Kyan Anthony, for example, will benefit from being running in a efficient offense. As opposed to guys standing outside the 3-point arc trying to go one-on-one or work off of high picks. I couldn't be happier. And he's won, he's won everywhere. He is a player and then is a head coach, small sample size, but I mean, he took a team, they had 4 wins, and in 2 years they were beating Duke by 11 at halftime, and that was without one of their key starters who was injured the week before the tournament.
Yeah, they had, for the people who I think maybe, I guess, didn't pay attention enough to Siena all year, the reason why he did play essentially just 5 guys all 40 minutes, you had 1 guy ineligible, and then you had your next 3 off the bench all injured. So not to be that guy, probably tough to really trust your 9, 10, 11 guy at that point, but either way. He had to do what he had to do.
He took them to the brink.
Yeah.
The number 1 team that spent, who knows. I saw there was an article, I think it was in The Athletic today, about the Sweet 16 teams and their spending. And Duke spent $25 million on their basketball program before you start talking about NIL. And then, the next best was like, actually, Kentucky's not in the Sweet 16, but they spent more than Duke.
Yeah.
As good of a return on investment.
Yeah.
But then I can't remember what the next best was, but it was like $18 million, and then it went down from there. So, and Gerry McNamara had Siena.
Yeah.
if they had one more player on their roster that could have contributed, they might have upset the 16, the number 1 seed Duke as a 16 seed. So anyways, small sample size, but he's excited. His family's lived there for years, up until these last 2 years. They lived there for 10, 12 years, I think, when he was on the staff.
Since 2010, technically, yeah.
Yep, we all know his wife. I can't wait to see who his staff is. I don't know if he'll have anything to announce on Monday about who his staff is, if he's bringing over Ryan Blackwell or Rinze Nwaku or someone else. It's going to be fun to see Carmelo Anthony's involvement. Not that he'll do anything official, but those guys won a national championship together, man. They're bound for life. And now Jerry's coaching his son, and I just foresee good things. And of course, if it doesn't happen, because we were all pleased with Adrian Autry. I think at least it was a change. Everybody wanted to get away from Boeheim. If things continue to go south and we miss the tournament, the first 2 years of Jerry's, coaching stead. Oh man, that one would be really tough to take. But I don't anticipate that happening, man. We're gonna win.
Yeah, I mean, I'm intrigued. The reason, too, probably should preface a little bit here in the reactive, but the reason why we're talking about Gannon Anthony in this way is, even though there was never said anything, but Carmelo alluded to more or less the fact that Gannon will be at Syracuse next year still. So
he did an interview with 7 p.m. Brooklyn or something.
His podcast, yeah.
And he basically said he can't wait for Jerry to coach Gannon. Now, I don't think that Jerry would turn around and say, look, I don't want Gannon, because he's got to make his own roster decision. So I think it's safe to say that he'll be there. And to me, Gannon Anthony didn't come in, obviously, is polished and refined and mature as his father did when he was a freshman in 2003. So expectations have been tempered a little bit. Yeah. But I think he'll be a great player for Syracuse, but it would have been, to me, embarrassing for Syracuse on top of everything else if Gannon Anthony was to move on to another program. Yeah. And now Carmelo's at the, sitting in the first row of the Illinois game or some other random college. But no, he'll be at the Dome again watching every game, and that's a nice thing for Syracuse too. Yep. Maybe he'll be sitting next to Mr. Weitzman.
We will see about that. I'm intrigued. I think Monday is probably where you'll get the indication about who might be on the staff. I don't know.
I would have, and maybe.
Yeah, I would imagine Blackwell and Nwaku would probably be. I don't know about for sure coming, but they'd probably be at the top of the list.
Blackwell has a ton of coaching experience, including in Japan.
Yes,
where he coached a professional team in Japan.
Yeah.
And he's a Section 5 guy.
That's true. Forgot about that. Yeah. The only other name I thought that was interesting that might pop up, not for that coaching, but he's not going to obviously do it. He just took another assistant coaching job. But Jason Hart left Kentucky to go to SMU under Andy Enfield. So obviously there's enough people out there, I think, who know what the Syracuse brand is, obviously. So I think Jerry would probably have a pretty good pick of the crop for depending upon who he would want to bring in anyway. So
there's a lot of former Syracuse players that would be. I'd be interested to see what he does with like Alan Griffin. Yeah, who's been there for a long time and was there when Jerry was there too,
but was not retained.
What do you mean?
He was the staff was all let go. So.
Oh yeah, but he's been there.
True. Yeah.
Is like he was there the whole time McNamara was there previously, I think. So they, who knows, but and it wasn't like Alan Griffin would have gone with McNamara to Siena.
Right.
So I wouldn't be surprised if he was brought back.
I mean, I guess I could see it, but I don't know. I guess I'm viewing it from his perspective of when I want to come back at that point in a way. But
no, I think he might, being like, okay, who knows? Who knows? And the hope, I hate that, all this makes Adrian Autry look so bad. I think there was a lot of reasons why he wasn't successful outside of himself that Syracuse is maybe correcting now. Maybe Adrian Autry would have been successful if Brian Blair was hired Adrian Autry's first year. maybe not. I just, I'm not a huge fan of what Wild Hack has done at Syracuse.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and Adrian Autry was a great player for Syracuse, and he's been a Syracuse guy his whole life, and that's the only downside to this is, and look, I didn't like what he did as a coach either. Let's face it, I didn't like watching this team.
He did himself no favors, right? And we talked about it on here where I think at the end we could forgive, well, maybe not forgive, right? But like the free throw stuff, eventually there's only so, right? We talked about there's only so many free throws you can do in a given amount of time where if it's just, it is what it is. But like you mentioned, right, Jim? I mean, when your offense is only a high pick and roll, it's one of those things where
it's also, it's tough because, you watch that Houston game that we lost and we missed the free throws. But other than that, it was like, wow, we're really good. And look at the way this team plays, and they're exciting.
I distinctly remember to even go beyond the Vegas thing. They beat Tennessee. And
all right, here we go.
And the national podcast I listened to on the College Basketball Society is talking about how like Syracuse clearly has something going in the right direction. And within a matter of 6 total weeks at that point, at the end of November technically at the beginning of December to the middle of January.
We also won our first, 3 ACC games?
Yeah.
Was it 3 or 4?
3. It was 3 of 4.
But and then, of course, lost like 6 in a row or whatever it was. But, yeah, to me it was during the stretch, especially when things turned south, was just to watch the way the guys played. The effort wasn't there. The level 5 intensity.
And that's the interesting part, too. We talk about Kai and Anthony coming back or any other player. And I have gotten text from people over the course of the past couple of days. It's like, Donnie Freeman's probably not coming back, right? I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't even know if I'd want Freeman back type of stuff. Like, because of the stuff you mentioned. Like, to me, he was the encapsulation of just that lack of effort, the fire being gone.
But can Gerry McNamara take a guy like that and have him play the way he wants?
Right.
One of the things he said in that radio interview or the Orange Nation interview was, his players are going to have to, live up to his expectations on and off the court.
Yeah.
And and again, watch the way those Siena kids played. And again, it's different. I know for Siena.
But to be fair, not to interrupt, you have a point in that though, because I don't want to look. I don't want to make it sound like I'm recklessly accusing or speculating, but like the last few years under Wild Hack, and I'm putting this under that umbrella here because I think it is fair. You have had issues outside of the field of play with lacrosse, with football, and with basketball. It's one of those things where something needs to be corrected.
Yeah, that's the thing that's might be a little most disheartening is it did seem to be a university-wide thing with, everything not being as good as it was 20 years ago. Let's face it.
Yeah.
Football's had some flashes, and I'm happy. I think Fran Brown's got us going in the right direction, working with what he has to work with. So. And again, that's why I can't put it all on Autry. But it's a new day. Page is turning.
Yeah.
Gerry McNamara is here, and it's going to be awesome to see a team that I think the team will reflect his personality and style, which is great. I mean, my God, you remember the senior year when he played like down the stretch of the season with like a hurt leg? Maybe you don't remember.
I do. I was 12.
2007.
I was 12.
Or
12.
6.
I was 12.
Okay, so I mean, nobody played with as much grit.
No, I mean, he was essentially, you say playing on one injured leg. I jokingly say now it's like he was essentially just playing with one arm because, like, I mean.
Yeah, he had
just destroyed.
He was. And that was from, putting it all on the line for 4 years.
Paul Harris.
And so. Yeah, those were good times.
Yeah.
And I would have thought that he would have won a second title too, but those injuries obviously didn't help. And the year after winning it, they lost to Vermont in the first round, which is something that just randomly happens every now and then. You one night, that team still had Akeem Warwick.
Yeah. They're also caught in a time where UConn had a for college basketball standards, a triple-headed monster too the year after, kind of led by Okafor and guys like that.
but
and
we
everything.
took him
But
down.
no,
in the
right?
Big
But
East
that's
tournament.
that's what I'm getting at, right? Is like I guess you never quite know. So, not to blow you in. So, will you have the phone and YouTube stream up then on Monday while you're out golfing, or?
No, but I will watch when I get back in
Yeah.
the room at night or whatever. But I will watch. I'm sure I'll watch it
Yeah.
from start to finish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Or
what?
you could even save it for the drive home.
That's true.
But I'll probably.
That'll be like 3 days after the fact, though.
I know.
Right?
I would need it a little sooner, but I can tell what he's going to say.
Yeah.
There's not going to be any surprises.
Yeah.
What's going to start to get interesting is when the transfer portal opens.
Yeah.
And the kind of player he brings in, and will he bring anybody from Siena?
Yeah.
Because you can get all the NAL guys and the the 4 or 5 star guys too, but you need a couple of those 2 or 3 star type of guys who are roster fillers and get in the rotation and make
Dogs.
Yeah, dogs. That's what everybody likes to say now.
Yeah.
Dogs.
Yeah. So,
Get a couple of dogs.
did you notice too the one video interview he's done? I noticed he was wearing the 2000. Well, it's not just 2003 logo, but it gets associated with obviously the 2003 team. The what I call the global S logo, if you will, where it's the S that's wrapped around the basketball.
Yeah,
Like
I
one.
don't know what you're talking about. I was never a fan of that.
I'm just intrigued to see if there's another rebrand coming. So I don't
Something
know.
like that has to have a special place,
Right. Right.
He looks at that different than probably other people do.
Yeah.
I mean, the Syracuse logos throughout the years. Remember when they went with the dome as part of the logo?
Oh,
probably?
jeez.
Yeah. I mean,
I was at the tail end technically of that, but I I don't know. I like the block S. I like the script for the basketball team. You want to know what I would like? Now this is me probably this is where my peak of
I
Syracuse.
agree with you on both those things. Block
Yeah.
S and the script jerseys
Yeah.
for the basketball team. Yeah.
I'd like for them to kind of reincorporate though I forget what the technical term is, but on the shorts and the side of the jersey, more of that block where it's like a square of blue, square of orange, square.
Yeah,
of
that's going back
Yeah.
to the late 1970s.
But they ran with it though in the 20 teens with CJ Fair and Cooney and those teams, Benajay.
Yeah,
A little bit. It wasn't as
pictures of Eddie Moss or Danny Shays or Leo Routins.
Yeah.
Those uniforms were pretty cool.
Yeah.
But the script uniforms set us apart
Yeah.
from almost every other program.
And while we're at it,
That's what Pearl wore.
yes. And while we're at it, bring back Vita the Goat.
Who?
Vita the Goat. The first ever mascot for Syracuse. One
goat?
of the first. Vita the Goat.
Bring back the original school colors of pink and green.
Now we're talking. No, let's please not that. I beg, no, please. My
I don't
eyes.
do that either. I don't need any throwbacks. I don't need anything. I just need them to win
Yeah.
basketball games and be something that we
Yes.
can be proud of and be something to pay attention to over the winter. That's satisfying,
Mm-hmm.
and then to get into the NCAA tournament again. I mean, how many? It's almost like if this was 15 years ago, we would be so excited right
Mm-hmm.
now about Syracuse playing in the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
More often than not.
Mm-hmm.
At least right. And now, we're talking about the program and everything. We're excited about it, but not in the same way we would be anticipating a Sweet 16 matchup.
Yeah.
And it's stupid. It's robbed us of that. And again, there's a million reasons why. It's not just the coach. And to me, I saw it coming before we ever went to the ACC. When I knew when we went to the ACC, everything was going to become harder for us. Not because we stepped up in competition, but we lost
Chasing
the main
football.
thing that made people want to come
Yeah.
to Syracuse,
Mm-hmm.
which was to play in the Big East, to play in Madison Square Garden for basketball.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, the football conference always held its own too.
Yeah.
But we Big East football conference produced national champions.
That's true.
And now we're in the ACC, so we don't have that Big East recruiting edge, which I think still exists.
Oh,
In
yeah.
terms of people wanting to play in that conference,
yeah.
and play in Madison Square Garden every year, but the leadership of the ACC doesn't care about anybody in the Northeast, whether it's Pitt, Boston College, or Syracuse. Maryland left. We consider Maryland South.
Yeah.
They couldn't take it anymore. They got out.
Yeah.
The support from the conference leadership really starts at about Charlottesville.
And that's being generous.
And it peaks on Tobacco Road.
Yeah.
Where the basketball conference really only cares about 2 schools.
Yeah.
And you can talk to any NC State fan about it too. So
well, I was about to say I think that's a pretty good transition, but I'd say we get it out of the way with now. Hubert Davis fired from UNC. Will Wade, that's more important to me because I could care less about Will Wade in the grand scheme of it, but Will Wade leaving NC State after 1 year to go back to LSU, just chaotic. But
Will Wade, I remember his press conference last year.
Yeah.
He was so excited and everything was great. And now he's gone in 1 year.
Yeah. And going back to, I mean, it's the most LSU thing since the Lane Kiffin hiring to bring in the guy that you had to fire because you were being investigated by the FBI, and only for 4 years later to turn around and bring him back in. I mean, I don't know. It's an even different landscape now than it was 4 years ago, but have fun with that investigation in 3 years, I guess, LSU. Then the Hubert Davis thing, I can't say maybe I'm overall surprised at that. What I will say, though, is to UNC fans, man, that brand ain't what you think it is at the moment.
Right.
You know,
Well, that's what's scary about Hubert Davis leaving.
Yeah.
Somebody can come in and it shouldn't be too hard to
there's just
ramp it up.
There is a lot of behind the scenes turmoil right now.
Same thing as we talked about at Syracuse. It's not just the coach, it's the institution.
There's a lot of turmoil there right now.
And they're a state school,
Yeah.
which is different than Duke. It's a private school. Syracuse is a private school. But and it also just goes to show that we're not the only ones.
Yeah,
You know, you mentioned Will Wade and you mentioned Hubert Davis.
Yeah.
I mean, people were so stoked when Hubert Davis was hired for UNC, and now that failed. And
that's the thing too. Like I don't even know if I'd call it a failure necessarily in the grand scheme of it.
because the way they lost some of their games,
which is fair.
historic fashion.
Which is fair, and I think there is a fair hypothetical question. As much as I hate them, Caleb Wilson doesn't get hurt this year.
Right.
I don't know if we're talking about this right now.
But Gerry McNamara's players got hurt.
Yeah, that's true.
Nobody was even going to notice. And
That's
they
true.
went on and won their conference title and went to the tournament. And, took Duke to the wire. But
there is one reason, though, I do hold Hubert Davis in high regard. Sent Coach K packing twice in his final year.
yeah.
So
And that was with Roy Williams players. I
true.
believe, right?
Well, he was their lead recruiter, but yeah.
Anyway, whatever.
Yeah.
I love to see whether it's North Carolina or Duke or any of those places have struggles.
Yeah. Yep. One of us. All right. One other.
Beat Syracuse. We beat North Carolina to get to the Final Four in 1987. Was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Derek Coleman just dominated. J.R. Reed was like one of the best players in the country,
And in 76.
and we and in 76. I remember 87 a little better, but that was one of the most satisfying wins of my athletic following life.
So, plenty more to get to. One final note on college basketball before we move on. Shout out Gannon, first men's Final Four in basketball since 1987.
Oh, wow.
Beat Michigan Tech yesterday.
So
Now have to play Oklahoma Baptist tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night, televised?
Behind a paywall.
Really?
Yeah. ESPN Plus. So.
Well, at least you can watch it.
That's true.
What will the crowd be like?
So, it's at Duquesne, which is a mid-major gym.
But Duquesne is not involved?
Outside of hosting, no.
Right, they're just hosting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Well, yeah,
probably...
Duquesne's Division I. I don't know why I always said that.
Yeah. The A-10,
Yeah.
shout out. But, I don't know. For sure, I would say probably a few thousand. I mean, I know...
Not a sellout at Duquesne?
Probably
For the Final
not.
Four?
Probably not for the Division II stuff, no.
No,
It is intriguing, though, because if they win and they make the national championship game, it is next Sunday, part of Final Four weekend in Indianapolis, so that'd be pretty cool. Anyway, move on to baseball. I want to circle back to last night first, opening night. Pains me to say it. Yankees and Giants behind a paywall on Netflix.
It is behind a paywall on Netflix, but let's face it, most people have Netflix, but my dad does. My father's a Giants fan, and they don't have Netflix. They don't stream anything. They have cable, and that's it.
And that's my thing is I get it. I'm not going to sit here and because I do agree with you, right? Like, but I just feel like, and we talked about this yesterday, and I think it's a fair point. You're coming off of, if you're the MLB, what was the most highly viewed World Series in years last fall.
Broadcast television, obviously.
Yes. For opening night, take a page out of the NFL playbook here, put it on one of your network partners, and not a knock on the Yankees or Giants, obviously. Those are two big brands for baseball. But run it back with the Blue Jays and the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of those things to me, it just blows my mind that baseball, again, just kind of fumbles the bag in front of their own way.
I don't know if they fumbled anything. It's just not opening day of baseball season isn't the same as opening day of football season anymore. The opening game, I guess. I mean, it's just so regionalized. But the ironic thing about that game being on Netflix last night is I got to watch the Yankees. That might be the last Yankee game I get to see to the postseason because I stream. I don't. I mean, I could subscribe to Yes.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna. So I follow the Yankees all year long, but when they're on ESPN, they're blacked out for me. Because I got YouTube TVs. We don't have cable.
Do you have Prime?
I got Prime, yeah.
So they're on there for like Wednesday home games, I think it is, or something. I don't know.
And then you could also.
But that's not the point.
MLB. Actually, if I got an MLB package, I don't think I get the Yankees
blacked
either.
out.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest problem with Major League Baseball is they got all these. It's like so hard to navigate, I would have the Yankees games on all summer in the background of whatever I'm doing, and I spend a lot of time at the golf course, and we can watch them there. But I'm not gonna go subscribe for another one just for the Yankees.
Yeah, baseball is literally the worst. Obviously, known local Finger Lakes hotbed, the state of Iowa. But they're the perfect example of it because in the state of Iowa, where there is no MLB team, you cannot watch any games because you're in 5 technical different TV markets in Iowa.
Right.
So you can't watch you can't watch the Cubs, you can't watch the White Sox, can't watch the Brewers, can't watch the Twins. I think you can't watch the Cardinals. I could be wrong on that 5th team, but it makes no sense. None.
Because their business model that they survived on since the advent of cable TV, I guess, maybe even a little before, was these regional coverages, and they haven't been able to transition to this modern. They've done it in a way that's just terrible.
Yeah.
There's all these. But on the other hand, if you're the Yes Network or any one of these companies, local regional companies that do have a Major League Baseball team, you need to make money too. It's a lot to do, 82 home games and 82 away games, if you're the Yes Network. It's very expensive.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but you would, and it does come down to the fact, I think, that, there's a large amount of people in the greater Milwaukee area and, 50 miles surrounding it that probably would love to watch the Brewers, but outside of that, nobody in America really wants to watch the Brewers. Where we want to watch the Green Bay Packers, though.
Yeah, I don't know about that for me, but yeah.
Well, you're going to watch the Packers, and they're on Monday Night Football Sunday.
True.
It doesn't matter.
No, right, yeah.
It's an NFL game you're going to watch. If it's an MLB game, the majority of the sports viewing public in America doesn't care that much about it, but they do care about their team. So baseball is regionalized, localized a lot different than
for sure
the NFL or even the NBA.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but it's a lot closer now.
Yeah, maybe. I just think that, when you go outside here in St. Falls, New York, you're just as likely to see a Steph Curry jersey than you are a Jalen Brunson jersey.
I guess. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's a little bit an issue for the MLB on how to go forward because you're just never going to get the adoption that the NFL has gotten from the average American, not even sports public, just average American viewing public. Yeah. And I don't know what you do about that, or I don't know if you have to do anything about it, but I want to watch the Yankees.
Mm-hmm.
I can't watch the Mets either.
Yeah.
And again, it's a passive thing for me. I will have the games on in my house as I'm doing other things, and I'll sit down when Judge gets up in a tie game in the bottom of the seventh, and but I can't do that. So instead, what do? Is I just look for the score on Finger Lakes 1 the next day, or I'll sometimes pull up a live box score or something if it's a game of interest. But
yeah.
But back to Netflix. Wow, man, that was a lot. Like, I watched the whole game. I checked that. I turned it.
You saw
away from
enough, yes.
And the seventh inning stretch when they started a segment of Jason Bateman talking about baseball in America in the seventh inning stretch. It was like a pre-produced thing, and I just couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah.
I just couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah, I saw, I said this to you this morning, I'm like, I saw like a still photo, looked like it was just like washed out incredibly, interviewing players mid-game, which...
Yeah, Jazz Chisholm, it was uncomfortable.
Which this part, I guess, isn't necessarily Netflix-driven because it's been, like, Fox does it and ESPN does it, but it drives me up, it drives me up a wall because, like, I think Chisholm even said, like, I don't know if it was during that interview or if it was afterwards, how he talked about how, like, he couldn't, like, pay attention.
Yeah.
Like,
your mind's
it's crazy.
Trying to talk to people in your ear while the game's going on. It's ridiculous. But I gotta admit, it was interesting to watch it. I didn't, I don't approve of it. I think it's silly, but it was interesting to watch it. Because, and ideally, a ball would have been hit his way and he would have been like mid-sentence and made an error or something. But, and the same thing with the... They had a 3-man booth, with CC Sabathia as the third leg. And then they brought up somebody almost every half inning, somebody new to sit in and talk about this and that. And it did yield a couple good things. And I was also thinking to myself, if you're not a Yankee or Giants fan and you're tuned into this, it probably is more interesting to hear these conversations than just your standard. But again, to me, it was just I don't know. It seemed like it was too much. And it's from the very beginning, all the pregame festivities when the players came out of the dugout for the starting lineups and there were like street dancers around them and stuff. It was like ridiculous. And Bert Kreischer was out there yelling,
shirtless,
trying to get the fans pumped up. And I don't know. It was just all too much. It was all too much. But you see that everywhere. The NFL's the same way. But when the NFL does it, it's almost like, wow, this is what America wants. Is the gaudiness of the fireworks and the music. But at a baseball stadium, to me, it was like, what a setting. It was the sun was it was sunny. And the sun went down. Full park. People out in the bay, opening day, it felt like baseball, but then they ruined it by just piping in all this music and anyways, whatever. And nobody over, it's over. So Netflix, if you want to, cover baseball, you should have like a year-long package where you're doing, even if it was like Monday Night Baseball on Netflix.
Yeah.
And I could turn on when the Yankees or Mets were on and not get it blacked out.
It's a novel concept.
That's my rant.
No,
I don't even know where it goes because overall, to watch a baseball game with all that stuff going on,
it's a lot of hoops.
It kept your interest a little more than just the 2-man booth but it just didn't feel right. It didn't feel right. Anyways, it's over now. Yeah. So next time we see Netflix is when, like, the home run derby?
I know there's a couple, they're doing, a couple marquee matchups for the year, but, yeah.
Should have a red zone.
Yeah. I'm with you. They do one.
They watch that every night.
They do it a couple times a week on
ESPN2?
It's MLB Network produced one. So I don't know if YouTube TV has I forget what it's called. I think it's literally called, the Strike Zone or something like that. So...
where you see when the biggest names get up to bat.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Scoring position, or you see the closer come in to save the game. I don't know.
Yeah.
I said, nobody's ever going to beat football, so you should be trying to do your own thing, not copy the NFL.
I hear you there.
If baseball wanted to be as exciting as the NFL, they'd play one game a week.
Yeah.
You imagine how big those games would be.
It'd be crazy.
You'd have your one starting pitcher, he'd be like the quarterback for the football team.
Pretty much, yeah.
And the same thing for NBA. If you really want to be more popular, have one game a week, and they would be huge.
Yeah.
You wouldn't even play. Like the Knicks wouldn't play the Lakers unless it was the playoffs or the championship. But the Knicks would play the Pistons once a year.
Yeah. I mean, I hear you.
But people would talk about those games.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's why the NFL is great. They got this cycle where the games are, all on Sunday, and then people talk about them on Monday Night Football, and then they talk about it on Tuesday, and then Wednesday you're previewing you're wrapping everything up and previewing the next week, and then Thursday night game, and then Friday previewing the weekend, and it's just leaves a lot of room to talk about it.
I hear you. All right, I'll offer my predictions here, obviously, because I love this. I love
baseball?
it. So yeah, Yankees, Toronto, Cleveland, Detroit, Seattle, Houston, and the AL for me to make the playoffs this year. NL, I have Philly, the Mets, and the Marlins. The Marlins are my sneaky team of the year. Cincinnati, and then the Dodgers and
That's a
the
tough
Padres.
NL East
Yeah.
division.
Yeah. Well,
Nationals.
I'm down on the Braves, but
I like the Braves.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know what I'm talking about, but I know that they're always in there, and I think they're a little underrated this year. I think that Seattle's a little underrated this year for maybe the best lineup in baseball.
I don't know about that. They're kind of the team everybody's kind of taking right now.
So I don't know. I watched the Yankees last night, and yeah, they did actually generate some runs, but their lineup doesn't stand out as being like even a top 5, maybe not a top 10 lineup.
I could buy that, I guess.
You got Judge in there, which is good, and it's also a strange. Again, I've come from baseball, grew up in the late 70s and 1980s baseball as a kid, and I wouldn't put a guy like Judge at second in the lineup.
Look, Jim, there's no more Claudel Washingtons out there. Okay.
Or Don Mattingly's.
Yes, that's true.
You like Judge batting second?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, I would prefer him third, but I don't mind him in second. I understand the purpose why he's there most of the time, because he also bats with a pretty good average most of the time.
Well, the one benefit is over the course of the season, he'll get a few extra bats.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't look like a lineup the way that I would set it up if I was managing the team. And again, I don't know that much about what I'm talking about, but I also don't like Jazz Chisholm hitting behind Stanton there. Chisholm seems like he'd be a good number 2 guy.
Yeah.
A little speed.
Yeah.
Just enough power.
Yeah. I personally would probably have him batting leadoff, but
yeah, well, not behind someone like Giancarlo Stanton.
Yeah, the tough part for
Can't
Chisholm.
even run.
Tough part for Chisholm is he strikes out a lot. So
so does a lot of Yankees.
Yeah, but that's this is where I do have the traditional side.
I'll say this to you too, and I was thinking about this last night.
Yeah.
If he was batting second in the lineup, his approach would be different than following Stanton. Maybe he would strike out less.
Yeah.
Like, how many times does he come up where he's like, I'm going to try to hit a dinger?
Right.
Instead of, I'm going to try to get on base ahead of Judge.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe steal base.
Yeah.
Like, he wants to be a 50-50.
50-50
guy.
Yeah. Hey, I'm with it.
So, I don't know. That's the stuff I thought about last night when I was watching the Yankee game.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I guess that goes back to Aaron Boone.
Yeah.
You would think you'd go Judge and then Stanton right behind Judge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you would think.
And then Ben Rice.
Yeah, Ben Rose.
So, anyways, those are my thoughts on the Yankees.
Mm-hmm.
The Mets are playing right now, right?
Yeah, they're down 2-0.
I bet the Pirates.
Look at you.
Plus 100.
I like
Paul
that.
Skeens is pitching.
I like that.
I couldn't believe it was positive.
Pirates are one of my sneaky teams this year. I think that, I like the talent they got.
You
A lot of
when you
good
got
talent.
Scenes pitching, every fifth start.
They arguably have a top 5 rotation in baseball. So, but hey, that remains to be seen. The
But
beauty
it's
of
good
it.
that it's here.
Yeah.
Baseball, like really today, not on
Well,
Netflix.
you said it best to me. I think it was yesterday, where it's like spring.
Yeah,
You know?
you can't deny it now. There's
Yeah.
baseball being played. I mean, it doesn't mean that we're going to jump in our swimming pools up here in the Finger
No,
Lakes tomorrow, but it means that it's time to start thinking about mowing the lawn, maybe.
Right. The window for me was cracked on the way in today. It's just feeling a little bit pretty good right
I have
now.
33 tomorrow.
That's tomorrow, not today. That's tomorrow.
Yep.
So, all right. Before we get out of here, high school basketball officially wrapped up over the weekend. We had our final broadcast. Just heartbreaking for Lions.
Ugh.
The part that and it's funny because I said this to Nate Sharman, who I did the game with on the way home. Me and him have now done a handful of these state Final Four games together, and I combined the title games in there too, just for the sake of this.
More often than not, you guys come home, and
yeah.
it was the same for me when I was calling a lot of them. More often than not, you come home without a state champion.
Yeah, and I said to him, and to me, it's 100% true. We've had 2 of the best games that we could have possibly have had be played, and then just not gone the way of Wayne Finger Lakes teams that we were there covering.
Yeah, that Lions game was a great game.
Just brutal. And we talked about it a ton, but man, it's just they were such a fun team to kind of watch all year, just evolve into what they became. They loved playing with each other. It was a fun brand of basketball to watch. And just one of those things where they did everything right on that final inbound play too. Like I cannot stress it. I cannot stress enough. Like they did everything right, and just the Chrisman kid for Cooperstown, man, just heaved it. And as I've said a couple of times now, like just
he's got a little GMac in him.
Just right through. It just like it didn't touch rim. I barely touched net. Like it just right in.
I feel bad because the biggest shot of the game was made by LeBrecq.
Yeah, and one. Yeah.
And he made the free throw too. I mean, how much has that kid matured to be able to step up in that type of situation? And so that whole sequence is a little forgotten now in the annals of time because they lost the game when really that could have been the game winner.
Quite literally, the next true play was that buzzer beater.
Well, the Lions had some fouls to give, and they gave them.
Right, but what I'm saying though is like in terms of like
the next
sequencing was that.
But I think Zach Young pushed all the right buttons for Lions. And I see this a lot in some of the college basketball games too. When you got the fouls to give, everybody gives them too early.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why do you give them too? I get them. You don't want to make the mistake of giving it while they're shooting a shot, but you can let a little more time go off the clock and before you give the foul. And again, it's a tough thing to do to get right, but I see that over and over again where there might be like 8 seconds left and a team has 2 fouls to give, and next thing you know, there's still 4 seconds left.
Yeah, and
they got the one last play. So
I think the tough part for them too is, and I didn't realize it at the time. It was Nate who brought it up to me on the broadcast. Even was when they were at that one foul. I'm sitting there going like, yeah, you're right. They would actually, like, if there was a situation, they do need to get to essentially that number 2. Like I didn't realize in the back of my mind that I was like, yeah, like they actually have a lot of fouls to give, which they can and they did do properly in the grand scheme of it.
Yeah, they did it right. It's just if you could find a way to just wait a second longer on those fouls, then all of a sudden, they're not going to have time for that catch and turn and shoot.
But it's tough, and credit to where credit's due with Cooperstown. Like they did shoot the ball well in that arena, and I think there is a little bit of an element of you had to make sure. I think to me, you got them before one of their guys got to a spot where they felt comfortable shooting, because they made a couple from pro range in that game.
Yeah, if that last shot was more of a conventional jump shot, you might be able to criticize a little bit the defense, but it wasn't. They were in a situation where he had to literally shoot it from the hip.
But even then, like I don't think Jameer Johnson, who was guarding Chrisman on that play, if he got any closer, I think he does foul Chris on the landing zone foul. So like that's where for me I don't know where else he could have.
No, I'm
you
sure
know what
Zach
I mean?
told them, whatever you do, don't foul.
Right.
So it was a rare situation where there really isn't much anybody could have done different. It just didn't go your way.
Yeah.
And again, the LeBrec's corner three and the free throw just plays to that too. Big time shot. And then to cap it off with a free throw on that stage was really something. It was really something. It was very this Lions whole season was impressive.
Yeah.
And watching them play Geneva in December, and then watching them play, in sectionals coming down the stretch here, you just saw how much they matured and how their roles became more well defined, and they were a state caliber team. It just didn't work out, and that's why even with a program like that, with all their 20-something sectional titles, they haven't won a state title since 1989.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's really, really hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they could have done it this year. It just didn't go their way.
Yep.
As much as a coin flip.
Yeah. I have a couple takes overall here just on the whole side. I think I prefer Binghamton to Glens Falls, weirdly.
It looks a little more modern.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Which is the interesting part because I felt like I did take a step back in time in
going to Glens Falls.
No, in Binghamton.
Oh, in Binghamton?
But for whatever reason, I think I preferred the atmosphere better at Binghamton than Glens Falls. It feels like
Glens Falls were up above in the
correct. I don't know if that's because I'm on the floor in Binghamton, but I don't know. It just felt like everything was just more closer, I guess. You know what I mean? Even the fans felt closer at Binghamton than at Glens Falls. So I don't know. It's one of those weird caught in the middle. And I brought this up during the broadcast at the end during our postgame show. And I'm going to say here, I genuinely do believe, I know it was maybe a down year overall in the grand scheme of it for teams in the Wayne Finger Lakes just collectively. But, man, those top teams this year were so good. And I will put any of those.
It was a down year.
What?
For the Wayne Finger Lakes?
I'm talking collectively in terms of just top to bottom stuff. But
yeah, I was pleased. I guess you could say that, but I thought that Wayne County was more competitive.
Yeah.
Which was good to see.
But that goes to what I was going to say, where I genuinely do believe I would put up pretty much any of these top teams against anybody in the state, and I feel damn confident that a Wayne Finger Lakes team would be coming back with a W against anybody.
Yeah, whether it's Wayne or Lions or Waterloo Girls.
Yeah.
But Minders made it to a sectional final. Mm-hmm. They were awful in the regular season. I don't know. The Finger Lakes East is a really, really it's probably the toughest league in all Section 5.
Yeah. Yeah.
Year to year. And Wayne County is starting to get a little bit of its of its mojo back, I think. I mean, Lions left for a while too.
Yeah.
And then the West is the West, but Honeyway's going to be great next year.
How part with them is I heard they're going independent. I don't know if that's exactly accurate.
That's what people do. I would almost just put the Finger Lakes East and West together and have two divisions and
mega conference.
Let people get relegated from year to year.
Jim, you disappoint me.
Why?
You don't like the modern Big Ten, but here you are want to do a mega Finger Lakes conference.
Well, no, I'm not including Wayne County in that. Although you could put. I
mean, I remember
all three of those conferences together and have three divisions based on a relegation.
I mean, in your defense, I remember a year. This is when I was in high school, so not.
Minders was in the FL West.
Well, long ago, but not all that long ago. Minders and Lions was in the West too for a year.
Yeah.
This was, mind you, like I said, this was now pushing more or less 15 years ago, but for one random year for whatever reason, I don't know why.
I just think that
happened to be that way.
Teams would benefit.
Yeah.
Because even if you're in the lower bracket and you're probably not considering yourself a realistic sectional hope, you're playing against teams you can beat and get better.
Yeah.
And
I think, like you said, the Minders on that boys' side, that B1 bracket's probably the best example of it. 7th seed, sub 500 all year, and just got away to the sectional final for probably just the fact that they had that background of
Yeah, a
playing
middle
tough teams
Finger
and
Lakes East team will always be better than the average Class B team that you'll get.
coming from
the
like
other
Genesee or Livingston.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
I'm with you
what
there.
I've seen over the years.
I'm with you there. Yeah, 100%. Paul Skeens got pulled, by the way, in the first inning.
Why?
Gave up 5 runs.
Are you kidding me?
Swear to God.
All right. Anyways,
Double down, Jim. Double down.
it's a long game still.
Yeah. Yep. But,
Wow.
yeah, I mean, I thought it ended up being a really great winner. I had a lot of, I don't know if reservations is the right word, but I had some worry about maybe the collective whatever of the season. And, hey, I got proven wrong once again. So
Every year, it seems like by the time you get of us covering it
Yeah.
since like 2011 or 12, I can't remember the first year we really started doing it, but the season ends and you're like, wow, that was incredible. All these great players and these great teams, and then a lot of those guys are gone. They graduate, and then you get through the whole season. It comes back to November. There's nothing available to look at except for last year's roster sometimes, and you're like, how can this year's going to suck compared to last year? But by the time you get into February, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
New kids step up, new teams emerge, and we always have a few teams going forward into the Far West Regional at least.
Yep. So, and for a lot of those kids now, you're on to spring sports. So good luck with that, and be a lot of fun. Spring. So we will get out of here at this point. Housekeeping stuff, Jim. You won't. Well, you might be here next week. We don't know for sure yet, but Kyle will be back next week. We know that much.
Yeah, depends how the drive home goes.
Yeah. So either way, we'll be back again next Thursday, back at 2 p.m. at this point anyway. Who knows? Discussing. We'll have Final Four matchups.
We'll hear from
for sure.
McNamara.
McNamara's comments on Monday, and then who knows what else will pop up between now and then. So. A lot to get to once again then. So, but until then, you can find the FL1 Sports Podcast here on FingerLakes1.com, the FL1 YouTube channel, and all major podcasting platforms. Enjoy the weekend, everybody. You got baseball, you got March Madness. Enjoy to your heart's desire, and we'll talk again next week.